Well, I told him we'd have this because it was probably unfair to try to think you're going to get something last night, big game this week. I guess first I'll talk about evaluating the film. It was just a shame because we played good enough, hard enough to win. If you took everything aside from a few question mark calls, if you took everything else aside, you can't start out like we started out and expect to be good people. And while the assistant Brian Gregory said what starts bad ends bad, some truth to it. And the start just got us in a hole, and it both mentally and physically, and that hurt. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the crowd, the best it was in 5 years, and it's always been pretty good. But I thought it was just at an elite level, and I've had numerous coaches, because probably a lot of people watched the game because not many people played, but numerous texts, and those were some of the things. There were some other things that they said that I kind of agreed with, but for the most part, if we would have started out better, I think we would have found a way to win it, yet produce an awfully good team. As far as Rutgers, it's going to be another rock fight. I've never seen, Steve is one of my favorite new guys in the league because he coaches with some passion. His kids are tougher than males. He coaches that way. A lot like Matt, and they've got some veterans now, Mahey and those guys, Amarui, those guys have been there 3 and 4 years. They're playing together. They added one guy who's a heck of a player and guard, and so they've got both size, speed. They got more size than anybody when you think about their guards are 6'5", 6'7", 6'8". They're kind of like a bunch of 6'7" guys in there, and then Amarui, who's a beast and one of the most athletic guy in the league. So we feel like we're going to figure out what we're going to do at practice today. We're going to practice, but it's probably going to be more walkthrough and everything as we try to navigate maybe the combination of strange schedule and the injury, and how we can maybe get Pierre more ready, how we can get a couple of those bigs more ready if we have to go big more often, and make some more adjustments. As far as Malik, as of today, it's about what it was when I talked to you last night. There is light at the end of the tunnel, which we thought the tunnel was closed, but specialist has come up with something that seems to think it's healing fine. It just maybe not all the way there yet, and maybe he tweaked it like Jaden Akins did. Questions?
Well, so is that, when you're trying to figure out what you have the rest of the year, is that some measure of relief for you today?
Well, it's as I said to my team in an early morning meeting, and to Malik, at least the door's open. The door was locked 2 days ago, to be honest with you. It was locked, and the door is open. What that means, I don't know, and I really don't. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I'm so confused by medicine right now. The only thing that confuses me more about medicine is politics, and the only thing that confuses me more about politics is Twitter, and the only thing that confuses me more about politics, medicine, and Twitter is the NCAA. So those guys take up all my time, so I don't really know, but it's a more positive sign than it was. I mean, there's the crack that I think they maybe thought they saw is more or less the healing process. Malik also had a broken toe, big toe early in his career, and that there's scar tissue in there. So there's just, I don't know, I try to stay out of the medical side of it, but I do believe that he has a chance to play. Is it in a week? I doubt it. Is it in 2 weeks? Maybe. Is it in 3 weeks? Possibly. And then, then you restart the whole process of getting him back and getting him in. But if Malik would have played in the last 2 games 10 or 15 minutes without practicing, we would probably have a better chance to win, just because we need some bodies in there that know what they're doing. And so whatever I can get out of him, as long as it's not in any way detrimental to his health, which we've been guaranteed it's not, guaranteed best you could, I think it's a positive.
It's out of your control, but Jaden Akins, Malik 3 times, how frustrated are you by this?
I think and then the zebras. I think you could tell last night. I am frustrated because, you know, there is no question, and you know, I always say this, and then someone says, "Well, yeah," and you know, I've already got my butt chewed about complaining about officials or the schedule or the combination of all those things has been something. But this summer, there's no question that Malik and Jaden were two of my best players. And I mean, Jaden isn't back yet, but he's good. I mean, it's just going to take now getting the confidence in his shot and figuring out what to do. But Malik was really playing at an elite level. He's shooting the ball so much better, and so that's frustrating. It's frustrating for me to see him go through that. You kind of hope that that doesn't happen, but there's a lot of people worse off than we are, so we just got to keep on marching.
Having already played a little bit with Malik, Tom, do you think or hope maybe that sort of lessens the shock effect on
Well, it lessens the shock, but what it doesn't lessen is the fatigue factor, or, you know, I mean, is it fair that I played Joey 37 minutes a game for 3 straight games? Probably not. You know, like everybody will say, well, that's the way it is, you know, and so-and-so plays that way. And, you know, I mean, for the most part, Edie played 37 last night, a different kind of 37, but he has played 30 minutes a game. The rest of their guys are under 30. And, you know, I think Lawyer was at 27 for the year and 26. And, you know, Villanova played that way, but we're trying to run, and that's a big part of our offense. As you can see, we're not running as good either. One reason is we're putting everything into our rebounding, and we did out-rebound. I mean, we're plus 8 or 9 in the league, which is amazing. But our defense has been pretty good. When you don't score on the break, your offense is never as good. So we're taking one away to add one. You know, that's about the way it's been. And so yeah, it's frustrating because we're constantly trying to think, okay, now do we have to play 2 bigs more? Just because of numbers. If we have to do that, you got to change a lot of your offense. You know, it'd be like taking 2 receivers away and putting 2 tight ends as running backs. You know, well, now you're going to run the ball more. You know, and that changes everything. So that part has been frustrating, but it's. I think the hardest part has been just never being able to practice with those guys. And it's been almost all year, and we went back and looked at last year. You know, one day makes a big difference. That's what, you know, even you guys, I think. I mean, you're back here today. I mean, you know, how do you do that and not complain about it? You know, Rutgers gets an extra day here. What's one day? One day is a lot when you're a player, you know, because you wouldn't have to come in for a 7:30 meeting today, you know, after a tough loss. And that's what one day is. One day is big, and I don't know why we're going to this. I guess Illinois' got a brutal part coming up. I don't know who else does, but there's been some tough for other teams too, and I don't think it's good for the Big Ten. I've said that publicly. I'll still say it. It's not the way it's been in years before. We've had some 2-day preps, of course, but then you get a 4-day, or, you know, I know you guys don't care, but try to go to the dentist or get a haircut. There's just no time, you know.
Would you prefer going back to 18 as to 20 what complicates this?
There's a lot of things that complicates it. You guys are the big, you know, TV's complicates it because we have so many different networks now vying, and nobody wants everybody on the same night. You know, they want it spread out, and so it creates some problems. You know, I've said before, I don't know if we should play 2 less non-conference games, if that would help. I mean, it's just all squished in. I mean, look at what we did this year. I mean, yeah, we traveled some in that, but we still, it's just the number of days. And when you put final exams in there and things like that, It screws up a lot of things. And I heard, according to KP, that that this was a down year. This was a year. I won't say it's like leap year, but we have a week shorter before the NCAA. The NCAA tournament's a week earlier, and so it's even more crunched in, for whatever reason that is. But I would have complained about it win or lose. I don't think it's best for the kids or for the coaches or for the teams or for the Big Ten. I don't know what other conferences are doing, but I've been in this thing a lot of years, and Mark Montgomery comes in and he's checking last year's and he's saying, look at this. So, we had 4 days here and 3 days there. So it's different. And big deal. It'd be no big deal if it was the same for everybody. When it's not, it's a bigger deal.
You talked about getting some more guys ready. Where's the challenge of doing that this time of year compared to?
Well, when you don't get the practice, it's really challenging. Maybe that's why the added frustration, but Jackson and Cooper, in their own ways, they each bring something different to the table. But Pierre's we got to get more out of Pierre. It's simple.
What does that look like? What does more out of him to you look like?
Watch my words. I'm thinking before I speak. Pierre Brooks is a very, very good player, if you ask me. Really is. And yet he doesn't always do the things that would put him in a position to be a very, very good player. You got to take care of yourself on the court, off the court. You got a great kid, pretty good student, no problems there. But it's been a little bit of a strain here as far as what we think he needs to do and what he's done. And what happens is, if you're not playing a lot, everybody gets depressed, everybody gets bummed out, and then you don't work as hard, or you don't do this as well, or you don't take care of yourself as well. Then all of a sudden, like happens a million times in all of our lives, opportunity knocks. And I told the guys a story that you can laugh about, but when I went to college, I was the 25th man on a 24-man roster. Okay, we had varsity and freshmen then. By the end of the year, between guys flunking out at semester, guys getting in trouble, Division II, a little different there, and all the things you go through, there were 14 of us left, 13 of us left. So I got to play a little bit. And I was still at least the best conditioned guy. I was the best this guy, the best that guy. Put yourself in a position to be ready when opportunity knocks, you get your chance. And I don't think guys do as good a job of that now. They don't enjoy the process. So what do I think of Pierre? He's a very good shooter. He's got to be in the best shape of his life. And that is one thing that he's got to get better at. Never been a great defender. He's got to be a good defender, but he could play the 3 and the 4. And so now we got to work him in at both spots a little bit. But he is good enough to help us and help us a lot. Took some good shots, just missed them last night. I could care less about that. Had one big time rebound. I'd like to see that on a regular basis, and I think we could, if he gets himself in the best shape he can be in, which this summer he was.
Tom, there was a moment you were sitting next to Malik in the first half. You said he handled the news well. What did you say to him during the game?
I did go sit by him. I was looking for some good karma. We were down 24-11, I think. But I just explained to him, understand this, so if you can come back, because they had given me the news right before that he had met. But even if you can't, how you can help us is the hardest thing to do is self-evaluate. So these players aren't seen it the same way I am. We all understand that. But you see it. You saw that start we had. You see AJ do some things that I've never seen him do. Throw it into a guy's back, step out of bounds. And I said, those things create a situation, and you gotta understand that that's okay if you wanna be good. But if you wanna be better than good, you just can't make those kind of mistakes. And so that's what I talked to him.
Rutgers is the only team that has beaten Purdue. Obviously, that's the only loss that they have. But how dangerous, in a sense, are they when it comes to, like, what did they do well to beat Purdue, and what can give you challenges with them?
Well, I think the challenges are, I think they might be the toughest team in the league. I told you I thought Illinois might be the most talented. Purdue's the biggest, just because they got three guys that don't weigh as much as he weighs together. But tough, street tough, teams like I used to have here, we had the Flintstones, they've got all those kids from Jersey and New York, tough kids, and size, and now experience. They all been through those losses. They won last year some. But if you looked at them, we forget, they had that game at Ohio State that they had all but one. And, or they'd be, what are they now, 5-2? They'd be 6-1, tied for first. So don't get Rutgers confused with 5 years ago. It's a different Rutgers team. Those guys that took the beatings are now juniors and seniors. It is a very good team, very well coached, very physical, very tough. And they took it to Purdue pretty good there. And Purdue, we know how good they are, especially at Mackey. So it's going to be a hell of a test for us.
Coach, you talk a lot about AJ stepping up, developing into more of a leader on the team. What did that look like in a game like last night, and what do you hope to see more out of him?
Well, I told him, after those first 5 minutes, he kind of reverted back a little bit, and I grabbed him in a timeout, and I said, "You ain't gonna do it. I'll sit you." So I already showed it doesn't matter, and where I saw some leadership skills in that, he wanted to come back. He knew he was wrong, and he adjusted. And then the second half, there was a couple of times he came over and said, "Hey, Coach, I'm gonna run this team. I got this. I got that." I saw mountains of growth in him, and he too, we gotta figure out how we can balance those minutes. It's not only the minutes you play, but like Joey, sometimes he's in stretches, then we took him out, and Marty got his fourth foul, so we put him back in 25 seconds later, So sometimes that happens to AJ a little bit, because we're a lot better with him on the court than we are off the court. But his leadership is growing. It's still in the process, but he's definitely moments like that are worth millions to me.
That moment you mentioned about Monty getting scored, you went too big at that, right?
We did for
a couple seconds.
yeah.
I guess, how much did you guys work on that before this? And as a second part of that, how is Ruby different maybe than Edie and Dane?
Yeah, well, we worked on it almost none. A couple times. Carson played the 4 just because when we got the second group, he has to play the 4. But for the most part, we worked on it none. We just lost Malik, and then we had the quick turnaround again, and we couldn't practice one of the days because we were walking. We got home at 2:30 in the morning, so we didn't work on it much. And but we can put in a package, almost like. Again, like football puts in a package where they go big, they might put tight end in the backfield, We can put in packages, a few plays to get around it for a while, and we're gonna do some of that today. But, what I'd really prefer is Pierre to get where he could, because it gives us some flexibility. And so that'll be part on Pierre, part on us. And yet, I think you'll see us go, bigger sometime, for sure. But it limits us in other areas.
You like learning from losses, but is this one of those rare occurrences where the way you played the last 30 minutes, without arguably your best player against the number 3 team in the country, help you you a little bit, or is that hogwash?
I don't think it's hogwash. I mean, I told my team, I mean, very seldom after a loss did I tell them I was proud of them. I was proud of them. I thought we competed as well as we've competed in a couple of years, because it was that kind of game. I mean, the intensity of that game, I don't know what it was like sitting there. I guess I was sitting there too. But the intensity of that game, as friends of mine all over the country sent me, I mean, you know, they said you could feel it coming through the TV. And I had to agree with that. And so, and that's a credit to Purdue too. But, so I think you can learn from a loss. The problem is, you know, in 1 week you had 2 games where you're leading late, and, you know, Illinois not quite the same, but you hope to find a way to win and you find a way to lose. Now, part of that is those teams are probably a little more talented, a little better than us. And yet, as I say all the time, the most talented teams don't win, the teams that play the best do. So we've got to do a little better job down the stretch. You know, AJ, I mean, just think about him. He's shooting the ball so well from the free throw line. I think he was
86.
yeah, and he was 3rd or 4th in the league, and misses 2, you know. Those kind of things, you know, and that's not his fault. He's worked on it. He's improved enormously, 20%. But those are plays you got to make if you're going to win big games. So, anyway.
Well, I mean, how's he different?
Oh, I'm
than
sorry.
the other 2 big years?
Yeah, Amarui is so athletic and so long. I mean, his arms and length and that. I mean, I'd like to know his standing reach might not be too far from Edie's. You know, he's just got very long arms and very athletic and a great lower body, legs and that. He's physical, and but he doesn't shoot as well. Doesn't shoot as well from the free throw line. Not as dynamic of a scorer in there as of course Edie is, but he's a good player. You know, it's like they've got about 4 of those guys that have been together the whole time, and so that means they've been through the real bad times, they've been through the decent times, and then last year and this year they're going through the good times, and that can be rewarding, uplifting. This will be one of the better teams we've played this year, I promise you.
Anything else, guys? Fred?
I asked a side bit, I thought you were doing something individual, but Thursday they're honoring the first responders with Mike Allen. Can you just give another thought on how appreciative you are?
Yeah, you know, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I just had a meeting on it this morning along with everything else I'm meeting on. But we wanted to do something. We wanted to make sure Mike was back healthy, which he is. He was in here today. But, you know, in sports, you always talk about miracles, you know, things that happen, you know, the Buffalo, the past, the miracles there. But it was so ironic that we saw a football player that was nationally publicized going through a lot what Mike went through. Very, very similar situation on what the heart did and what's going on, and he's recovering, Mike's recovering. But the people, to think that in our community where 70% of the people would have just drove by, if somebody drove by one more car, you know, my buddy wouldn't be here. It wouldn't have taken, it was one more car. It was that close second-wise. You can only be out for so long, as we all know, and there's a little leeway according to who you are and what you are. But those guys responded and saved his life. I mean, legitimate heroes, legitimate. But there were so many other people, you know, and when I went out to the sheriff's department, witnessed the different things that happened. First the guys that came, then the police, then the paramedics, then in the hospital, you know, and then I was there the next day for 2 days. And you just realize what a team of people it takes. And I've said this, and I mean it, whether it's our nurses, whether it's teachers. I think there's certain professions that get paid the least, sort of, and probably are responsible for the most. And that's what I think of our first responders in every way, shape, or form. You know, an ambulance driver, a paramedic, you know, police officers. I mean, we wanted to defund them and do all this crap. And then these guys, all they did is save somebody's life. Now, it might not mean the same to you, but it sure would be if it was your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your child, you know, and or your best friend. And for me, it was the last one, you know. It was one of my few best friends. And to witness what I witnessed, to see the video, to see step by step by step what happened from a minute after the accident, which really didn't cause his problems caused the accident, but to see how that went all the way to that truck pulling up to the hospital, and then what happened after that in the hospital, it just took so many different people, and we just don't appreciate it until it happens to us, including me probably over the time. But this one did happen to me. At my one weekend, I was at my cottage in August. I mean, I had been on the road, so I went out there on Friday night late. I got up Saturday morning, went for a little jog, and I'm sitting there looking at the lake, and my daughter was there, and she screams that Mike's wife is on the phone, and Mike might be dead. And as I said, I jumped on the phone for 10 seconds, told my family to talk to his wife, and I jumped in the car and drove a little bit above the normal speed limit to get to the hospital. And then you're getting, Garrett was giving me play-by-play as I was going, and I mean, at one time it was slow down. It's probably not gonna matter. And to go through that and then see him come back on the other side. And then that day I called the two of the guys that I got their names from somebody. Garrett hunted them down. And I called both guys that day. I got one of them, the other one took me till the next day. And then when I talked to Sheriff Wigglesworth and the different people there, and then I went out to Mason and saw some videos and things that they had done. Miracle. And to think that you're within seconds, and those guys live it every day. And I think my damn game against Purdue was life and death. You know, it brings so much perspective. Unfortunately, only for that period of time. You know, a week later, the Purdue game was probably life and death because Mike's okay. But I think honoring those people, and there's so many of those people we should honor every day that do so much for us that we don't. We do a good job with the military. I don't think we do as good a job with the police. I don't think we do as good a job with the first responders. It took 9/11 to tell us that guys were actually walking into buildings to save other people's life knowing they were gonna die. You know, I'm not sure I could do that. They do it all the time. So it's a good thing you brought up, Fred, because we are honoring those people, and it's not just the two, it's all the people that touched it. And I thought, as I said to you a week ago, I thought Buffalo did an incredible job of that, talking about all the nurse, the person at the front office, just the different people that touched his life to get him through when everybody thought he was all but gone. And I told you it was ironic that the equipment man got involved. I told Pruder, you finally have some worth, you know, because I've known you for 25 years, you've had none. You finally have some worth. And I told him make sure he gets a CPR class in case I go down. You know, I don't think he would jump on that, though. I think he would. But guys did. Guys that mattered did. And those guys, I hope 15,000 people rise to their feet. And I hope it makes them think about what is really important. And seeing Mike walk in today, seeing him is just something special for me because I know the truth on where he was from life and death. And this is not an exaggeration. If you knew the whole story, and you know, I don't know what all they're gonna talk about, what they're gonna do yet, we're putting that together, but the truth of it is, you know, just one more car had to go by without somebody stopping, because there were cars that did. One more car had to go by, and my buddy from college wouldn't be here. And now he's gonna live to see, you know, more grandchildren, better life, and everything's gonna work out because a couple people stopped, a team of people rescued him, some incredible doctors took care of him, nurses. It's the American dream, man. It's what it's really all about, and it is life and death. And at least for this moment, as I think about it, it puts the Purdue game out of my mind. And so I'm looking forward to Thursday too, and I appreciate that. And hope all of you, you know, understand that this job has so many frustrations to it. It really does, because there's so many things that you don't get to control. And if you're anybody that's been successful, whether it's you, I mean, you want to control your stories. Everybody's a control freak. We all want to control our stuff. And there's a lot of things that you can't control when you're dealing with the people that I have to deal with. And so if last night was a little frustrating, accept my apology. You know, but then again, you know, you guys need to be kept in check once in a while too, because you keep me in check. So I guess it's an even deal. You know, you get me, I get you once in a while. We'll have a hell of a party at the end of the year. Cool. Thanks.
One of the guys